What's up, music fans of the internet? I'm Derek.
And I am Kevin.
And together we're last week's album. We're bringing you two opinions on the best new music. And this week we're talking about the Maccabees' new album, Marks to Prove It. But before we go any further, we're going to start things off like we always do, drinking a beer. Cheers, Kevin, and everyone at home.
Cheers, Derek, and everyone at home.
All right, so the Maccabees are a sextet based out of South London. They formed in 2004, and Marks to Prove It is their fourth full-length album. And they have three previous albums to prove that this one is the fourth. Given to the World in 2012, Wall of Arms in 2010, and Colored In 2007. They've spent the last 2.5, almost 3 years recording this album, so it's highly anticipated from all four followers of the Maccabees. And so we're not going to talk about it any longer. We're just going to dive in to what it sounds like. Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Sure thing, Derek. I think this album sounds like The National, Radiohead, and Arcade Fire walking the streets of London from dusk until dawn.
I like that. I like that. I think Marks to Prove It sounds like the vaccine to reduce the risk of frostbite from extended Coldplay with Arctic Monkeys.
Nice, nice.
I couldn't find a way to throw Alt J in there. I wanted to, but it just wasn't going to work. So that brings us to key tracks. Kevin, what did you have?
I've got the title and opening track, Marks to Prove It, and the second one, Kamakura.
All right. I'm actually going with Silence and Something Like Happiness. So why don't you start us off with the opening track, Marks to Prove It?
Sure. Marks to Prove It has this revving bass, scratchy guitars, snappy drums, this almost stumbling vocal melody, and I mean that in a good way. The chorus goes big with the staccato meets legato call and response. That's really nice. And one of my favorite parts is the descending piano line. It starts in the bridge and comes back again in the outro. It creates this feeling that the song itself is just spiraling downward and gives the song this really epic, unsettling vibe. It's one of those that ends and you know it's going to end, but it doesn't feel right. I don't know. You just want to go back and listen to it again for that reason. What do you think of Silence, Derek?
Silence is a complete opposite of that other one, which makes you wear out the repeat button on whatever you're listening to it on. Silence is really driven by a piano riff. It's really soft at the beginning. There's kind of layered vocals, soft drums, and this groaning ambient sounds that persist in the background throughout the song. During the chorus, it's a very warm vocal melody that just really captured my attention. Overall, I thought this track was really just characterized by controlled intensity. These groaning ambient sounds really created the feeling like things were just about to come crashing down, but they never do. And there's some good lyrics here. So Silence was good listening.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. My next one, Kamakura, I like for a similar reason. It's very ominous. Has this ominous drum and synth opening, wiry guitar and mellow vocals sort of enter in. And then the chorus kicks it into high gear with this edgy guitar work and really impassioned vocals. Lyrics describe the closing time scene outside bars in Kamakura, Japan, actually. And there's some drunken drama amongst friends, it seems like. The moody verses with the passionate chorus create this sonic drama that really mirrors the song's meaning and then also makes for a really interesting listen overall. So Something Like Happiness, Derek?
Yeah, this one, the intro, there's strummed acoustic guitar, galloping drums, harmonized vocal ooze, and churning, crunchy guitars. This really kind of ebbs during the verses, it tones down a little bit. There are airy keys toward the end, which add a unique texture to this overall rocking sound. One of the opening lyrics is, "You just know. When you know, you just know." So that is Something Like Happiness. And really, I thought this was just really strong instrumentally, an uplifting message, a good song. Sometimes you just know.
Nice.
So, yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, that brings us to best lyric. Also, sometimes you just know those when you hear them. So, Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. Speaking of, I'm going with a line from Kamakura, which I think might be the best lyrically written song of 2015, at least so far. Sometimes you just know, Derek. I think you can pick any verse or even couplet here, and it's beautifully poetic. The line I'm going with, though, he says, he's given a bloody nose to the best friend he knows. The only time he's cried since he was 7 years old. Your best friends forgive you. Your best friends forget you get old. Such a powerful scene he paints there, and then wraps it up with this really emotional truth. Just this song, top to bottom, is, like I said, probably the best written song of the year so far. What about your line, Derek?
Nice. Actually, I think there's a lot of similar elements in the lyric I'm picking out. This one also comes from Something Like Happiness, and not quite as tongue-in-cheek, straightforward as what I alluded to earlier. But here he says, if it's over, let it be over, because time and again you have tried it again, and you've worn it down to the bone. So I think he's just really speaking to people that find themselves in ruts of unhappiness, don't try to change their circumstances or anything in life to get themselves out of that hole, and how important it is to recognize it and pick yourselves up by the bootstraps, et cetera, et cetera. So that brings us to overall rating and asking the big question on this album: do the Maccabees take a musical beating or rule with the sonic punches? Kevin, do they have some scar tissue that they wish you saw?
I'll start with the question. I think they roll with the punches really, really well. I think they mix the energy of their early days with the expansiveness of their more recent releases to create what might be their greatest record to date. Overall rating-wise, I'll start with pros. I think the story arc of going from day into night and back into day is really cool that they talked about. So it gives the different songs, sometimes it's a character study, sometimes it's kind of a scene study, really interesting narratives. I think it has all the ups and downs that an album should have, and they create atmospherics without much layering, really just with the core instruments they're using. On the con side, the lyrics get drowned out or unintelligible a little bit too often. The first half feels way stronger than the second. And so overall, I'm going to have to give this one a 4 out of 5. What do you think, Derek?
Nice. I completely agree with you as far as rolling with the punches. I think they did a great job there. Yeah, I liked a lot of your points there. I think in a lot of the interviews they said they were trying to capture the energy of their live shows. I think for the most part they really capture that here. There's a lot of detailed nuances that we've kind of spoken to, and I thought really added depth and complexity. As a result, I don't think this is necessarily an easy listen, but at the same time, it was definitely rewarding the more I kept coming back to it nonetheless. There were some softer parts that seemed to be extant for a while, and I kind of found myself asking, where's the rock? But it came towards the end. You just had to kind of wait for it. Yeah, I think they do a great job balancing, exactly as you said, some of the high energy rock from their earlier work while embracing this expansive sound and really kind of opening it up. And I totally agree with your point about using the imagery of night and day and the different types of studies they use in lyrics. So yeah, overall, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5 as well. So we're agreeing there as well. So that's a 4 out of 5 from me, 4 out of 5 from Kevin. That's an 8 out of 10. So you really need to go check out the marks that the Maccabees have to prove it. Thanks again for joining us here at last week's album. Don't forget to subscribe. Shout out to the podcast. Keep coming back where we'll give you 2 opinions on the best new music. And as always, I'm Derek.
I'm Kevin. Cheers, guys.